It's business. It's business time. Hang tight, we're gonna get into the business right here in a couple minutes. Baby, baby. It's business. It's business time. All right, we are here with week 48 of It's Business Time, and we are joined this week by Kerriann Otaño. Thank you so much for joining the pod. You came very highly recommended by multiple people.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, definitely. Sarah Crawford, too. She was like, you have to have her on at some point. That was a little while ago. I can't believe the summer kind of got away from us here.
I'm offended personally, and I think your audience is deeply offended that I haven't been on yet.
Hey, you know what? I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow.
I'm here to grow.
Yeah.
No, Sarah Crawford, there's no better artist advocate in this community. I mean, now, admittedly, I've only been here for 2 years, but as soon as I met Sarah Crawford, she's been nothing but hyping up artists that she believes in and organizations that she believes in. So
absolutely,
that's a real one.
And you could really tell the measure of a person, too, by the ones she surrounds themselves with. And she's incredible, and the people she surrounds herself with are absolutely incredible. Her friends, her community, her network. Anytime she does an event, I'm on it. But,
yes.
So I can't wait to jump into this. Kerriann Otaño from Opera Delaware.
That's right, Opera Delaware.
I didn't even say Opera Delaware. We jumped right in. But from Opera Delaware, I can't wait to jump into this. Before we get rolling, I do always like to give a quick shout out to Stitch House Brewery for having us. Stitch House, also a small business. They are right here on Market Street. They always have 12 beers on tap, locally made right here behind us. They have great food. If you find yourself in the area, definitely stop by. And with that, we are rolling. Kerriann, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
Wow, where do we even begin? So one of the reasons that I'm so excited to have gallery owners and directors and engagement specialists of all the cultural groups, VPs of engagement, if you will.
And I will.
You will. The VP. Hey. One of the reasons I love kind of mixing it up with the small business community is because it really is a web. You guys need small businesses. Small businesses need you guys. It kind of all works together to do the community building that makes the city just have that spark.
Exactly right. I think we have to ask ourselves, what is it that makes a community worth living in? I think that business owners and entrepreneurs, what's going to attract people to want to stay and work in your company and live here? And I think it's the quality of the arts and culture scene. It's the quality of the restaurant scene, right? People are seeking those opportunities to gather outside of work. And so if we have a robust arts and culture community, it's going to attract higher quality people to work and live here in Delaware. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a thread too with small business owners is they want to wake up in the morning and do something that they love, do something that they care about. And so for those who aren't on that path, they want to do something at the end of their day that they care about. Exactly.
That connects them to the things that and opera too is such a cool one because it connects our past to our current to our future. There's such this through line of culture, and we're gonna get to how small businesses can sponsor and give out tickets and host events, all that stuff. We're gonna get to all that eventually, but for the timeline to kind of wrap our heads around yourself, you as an ambassador of Opera in Delaware.
Yes.
I want to kind of take us back to where it all started. What's your background? What were you doing before you found yourself at Opera Delaware?
Yeah. So for 10 years, I was a professional opera singer, and that's what I did full time. So when I was in high school, I met this sweet little old lady who told me that I should sing opera, and I just never thought that was something for me. So really my advocacy and ambassadorship is because had I not met someone who did that for me, I never would have had this life. It all came from this one woman being I can hear something in you. Let's talk about opera. So I met her when I was 14. She became a huge mentor to me. Helped connect me with a foreign exchange program in Italy. So I got to sing and live in Italy for a year after I graduated high school. I got my bachelor's and my master's in opera and vocal performance.
Oh my goodness.
And then I started performing. So I was mostly, a lot of my career was at the Kennedy Center. I sang at the Metropolitan Opera. I sang, I met my husband on a gig in Florida. So we were kind of bouncing all over the U.S. I lived in California for a couple of years. years. And right before this, I was in Memphis in Tennessee. But I was singing full-time for 10 years. And to be honest with you, this is like foundationally why I became the advocate that I am today, because when I was singing at the Met, which should have been like the pinnacle of my life, like the ultimate, like this is my achievement, this is what I've been aiming for this whole time. I've never been more scared. I have never been like lower or in a darker place. And there wasn't anyone that I could talk to, because you're a freelance artist. All opera singers were freelancers. And I couldn't talk to the company because it would mean that maybe I don't get hired there again. I couldn't talk to my manager because then he's going to stop advocating for me. I couldn't talk to my family or my friends because I think in a way I felt like it was selfish of me to feel sad that I should just be happy and grateful that I get to be a singer. So I got into a really, really dark place when I was at what should have been the high point of my career. And right after that, I went back to California, and I was going to be starting a year-long residency at this opera company in San Jose. And what a residency is in opera, it's very rare in the United States, but it exists in Europe. These residencies, you get... I was going to star in 4 shows in the year. I was going to have health insurance and salary and housing. It was such a sweet setup. But I told my boss, I said, I can't phonate. I can't sing without crying. I don't know what's going on. Something is wrong with me. And he said, I'll never forget this in my life. He said, if you leave here, do you have health insurance? Because he was a singer himself. He had been a singer. He knew what we were up against. And I said, no. And he said, well, then you're not going to leave. And what they ended up doing was they hired another soprano to sing the first show of the season. So that my health insurance would kick in. They had me work in administration. They had me like help out behind the scenes, but take care of myself and like start getting better. They didn't just like kick me to the wolves. And because of that company, I like advocated more. I fundraised more. I sold more tickets to the show. I sang better. When I went back, like when I did the rest of the shows in the season, never before have I sung so confidently because they had my back. I didn't feel like I was just like a pawn in someone's production. I felt like I mattered. And that's not something that we're taught in opera in particular, you know? And so that told me I wanted to get into administration. Well, really what told me was that I created a survey online because I'm just data. I'm just like a little bit curious. And I said, if I'm feeling this way and I'm singing at the Met and I'm having like relative success, how's everybody else doing? So I created this survey where I asked, how long have you been in the field? What level do you sing at? Are you, a student? Are you in the chorus? Are you a principal artist? Are you touring? And then I just said, what symptoms have you experienced? And I listed the clinical symptoms of anxiety and depression. I said, what symptoms have you experienced in relation to your career? And I'm not kidding when I tell you over 90% of artists, over the 500 artists who took the survey, over 90% said that they had experienced those clinical symptoms, but less than a third had done any mental health work, had sought therapy, had done anything on their own. And I think that it's because in this country, we say, it's the only career where the word suffering is included. You're a suffering artist, you're a starving artist, you're a struggling artist, right? And so we're not going to try to take care of ourselves. And so the combination of those two things, meeting administrators who took care of me and seeing what a epidemic it was among my friends and the people that I care about was really what drove me into administration.
Wow. Yeah. No, I mean that's quite a story, and it's a common story, It's
absolutely it is.
And I don't mean common, to detract, of course, but how many artists are, in those dark spaces, are given opportunities, and those do become some of the most stressful and intense periods of their life. I have a saying where I say like feeling alone in a crowd,
Yes.
where it's like we spend so much time trying to gather everyone together to do something wonderful and exciting and community building and all that type of stuff, and then we find ourselves just like racked with like, why do I feel this way? And it can slow and sometimes stop you, and that's really a cool story that you had a group of people that worked with you, saw something in you where like bringing another soprano in so that you could stay on long enough to kind of settle in.
Yes.
That really is the definition of community.
Exactly right. And I think that's what's lacking in the arts in a lot of ways, especially for touring musicians. Like, we don't really have that sense of community. And I think when you are able to provide that for artists, the quality of the art and the quality of their lives increases exponentially.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's absolutely true. There's like there's a stigma that not everyone can be famous, right? Not everyone can be the top artist.
Oh, yeah.
And so there needs to be some sort of like thinning of the herd. And I think that's what a lot of people feel. They're like, this is me being thinned out.
Yeah.
I should go do something else.
Oh, yeah.
But one thing I tell people all the time about music is like, the goal is not to become the next Taylor Swift or Beyonce, right? The goal is to feel good.
Yes.
Is to bring joy into your life, to bring joy into your community.
Yes.
And when you're thinking that there is this, like, if you're going to play football, you only play football if you're going to go to the NFL.
And otherwise you're a failure.
Yeah, other's you're a failure.
Isn't that crazy? The idea of being a failed artist.
Right.
How could you fail?
I know. It's wild, right? Yeah. How can you fail?
You can't fail. You can only fail if you set that expectation, if you define success as this one thing. And again, if you look at the data statistically for opera, it's like 1% of opera singers are making their entire career working in opera exclusively. That's how they make all their money. The majority of us are doing something else. Right? And so the way that we'll tell ourselves, I'm a failure if I didn't sing at the Met by the time I'm 30. When, like, you are a success, you are an artist just by nature of doing the thing. Just by nature of, like, continuing to do it. The only way that I think that we fail is that we fail ourselves when we give up. We fail ourselves. Like, I would have felt like I don't feel like a failed singer because I moved into administration. I feel like it was the evolution.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Totally. Of like what I was supposed to do, that I experienced this so that I can be a better advocate for my people. But I know a lot of singers who would have felt like, I can't hang. This is a failure. And in all different genres, right? In all different genres of music, that artists feel like, I can't hang at this level, so that means I'm not up to snuff. And you still have so much to offer and so much to say and so much to give. And we just need to find a different way for you to give that.
Totally.
Right? There's not like one correct path, especially not to be an artist.
Yeah.
You know?
So the advocacy is
I mean, can you tell?
It's palpable. Yeah, the passion is very, very true. It's right on your sleeve. You're definitely in the right place with the right attitude and spirit about it. So I'll use that as a very clunky segue to the right space, right? Opera Delaware. So how long have you been with them? So I can tell how you found your way. I can't even imagine like the interview process. They probably talk to you for 10 seconds. And they're like, "You're perfect. Come on in. This is your office." But so when did you join? How long have you been with them? And tell us like a little bit about Opera Delaware itself, like as an organization.
Yes.
And what they're doing in our community.
Oh my God, I would love to. So
I know that's a big one.
I love it. So Opera Delaware is the 11th oldest opera company in the country, which I'm just like obsessed with. I think is so interesting. We're in the first state, and I think that means that we have an obligation to be very like on the forefront.
Definitely, definitely, very historic.
And they've had a history of that for 75 years. And my boss, the reason that I got here is because my boss, Brendan Cook, who's been running Opera Delaware for the last decade, is an innovative thinker. He was like, the way that opera is currently working as a model is not working, and we need something different. And he saw me on social media. We had been friends for a while. We'd like known each other on the periphery, and we just started having these conversations. What do you want to see happen in opera? You care about this so much. What do you want to change? How do you want, because it's about finding the right people, right? And then you find the job. So we created Vice President of Engagement after he and I talked for weeks about like, what are you going to do that's going to be best and most effective here? So it's been 2 years that I've been here. No other company that I know of has a Vice President of Engagement. And I honestly think they're sleeping on it. I think they're making a mistake because it's a really important role. Like the way that you're received by the community, putting a face on that, humanizing an art form that can seem intimidating, has taken us so far, you know?
Well, that's interesting, putting a face on it, the ambassadorship, things of that nature, because that's the original first place we met, I think, was at one of the networking events?
Yes.
Here at Stitch House,
yes,
right?
Exactly right.
what do they call Delaware Business First, powered by King Creative, Christopher Bruce,
my guy.
Yeah, definitely a guy in this area. His Facebook is one of the most fun to follow. You know, one week he's on an aircraft carrier, the next week he's at a pickle festival.
Yes, talk about someone who always brings joy into the world.
Truly,
you know, I love that.
Yeah, so you're out there and you're repping the brand, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm sure many historic opera houses don't do.
Yeah.
And so as the VP of engagement, you're spreading the community vibes. What is it like? Give me a couple examples of the events. So you guys operate largely out of the Grand, right?
So we operate out of the Grand twice a year when we do our main stage operas with full orchestra, with full production value.
Wow.
Mwah.
What
Chef's
was
kiss.
the last one, if you don't mind me
We
asking?
just did, in the spring, we did Turandot by Puccini, which is the one that has Nessun Dorma. Like, you've absolutely heard this aria. It's like the most climactic.
Yeah.
But it's about a princess who doesn't want to marry any suitor, right? And so she says, I will ask you 3 riddles.
Very relatable.
Right? She's seen Hinge. She's seen The Marketplace. And she was like, you know what? I'm good. Thank you.
The Red Pill podcast.
So she says, I will challenge these suitors to answer 3 questions. If they get them right, cool, let's get married. If you get them wrong, I get to chop off your head.
Oh, wow. That's quite the gamble.
It's a good opera. So that's what we did in the spring.
Wow.
Absolute fire. Like, so fun. This year, we're doing Puccini's La Bohème, which is the opera that inspired the movie Moonstruck with Cher.
Right.
It inspired the musical Rent by Jonathan Larson. That's like a Tony Award winning, like one of the most important musicals of our time.
Yeah.
And it's just about like a group of bohemian artists who are like trying to survive and find love. And it's just like a
Also
beautiful story,
relatable.
incredible music. Yeah.
I feel like we have a whole generation of bohemian artists
We really
trying
do.
to find love.
We really do. Yes. And so that's kind of the thing that I look at with being the vice president of engagement. It's like I can relate to these stories because I know more of the history of it, but I don't think you need a degree in opera to appreciate it. These are stories, these are people that you know. There's a character in La Bohème named Musetta who comes into this bar scene with her new boyfriend, a really rich guy. She sees her ex-boyfriend in there, and so she starts singing this aria, Quando men vo, where she's saying, when I walk down the street, everybody's looking at me. I know y'all are looking at me right now. Guys, girls, everybody wants me, right? It's like a very teasy, flirtatious. We know a girl who goes to a bar, sees her ex, and is like, I'm about to dance on this bar now. You know that girl, right?
We swipe by her on Instagram all
know.
the time.
So just because it's like in another language, and that's the other thing that I like to tell people, like, people remove themselves from opera. They assume they're not going to understand it or they're not going to enjoy it.
Right.
And so one of the major roadblocks is people say, I'm not going to understand the language.
Right.
La Bohème is in Italian. A lot of operas that we do are in Italian, French, German. And a friend of mine said, how am I going to understand? And I said, don't worry, babe, we got super titles.
Yeah.
And my friend said, I don't know what super titles are.
Yeah.
Because, like, the terminology that we use when you're on the inside of it,
Right.
it's so critical to find the language that's going to connect with people who are on the outside. So I said to my friend, I was like, oh, it's like English captions. It's like just English translations that we project above the stage. So, like, subtitles are below when you're watching TV.
Gotcha.
Super titles are above.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Completely, like, blew his mind.
Right.
So I think it's really about the way that we approach this and find ways to show people, like, no, like, you're going to feel, I promise you, you're going to feel comfortable. And if you don't, you're going to come and talk to me and I'm going to make you feel comfortable. Like, I got you. We're in this together, you know?
Yeah, yet again, definitely in the right field for sure. No, that's cool. It's been a while since I went to an opera. And I don't remember them having super titles.
Yeah.
But I thought what you meant by super titles was subtitles is subliminal. Not sub below. And
That's
super titles is obvious, meaning like the way that they move. The
Oh,
way
like
that
it's
they
subtle,
act.
like subtitles subtle.
Subtitles subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah, subtle. There you go. That makes a
That's
lot more
so
sense.
interesting.
But and then super title was like obvious.
Yes.
And the way like they embellish and things, it makes it very clear, kind of what's happening. Because
this is why I'm such an advocate for like joyful advocacy and being really excited and passionate about sharing the things you care about, because that's the only way we get to like questions like this. Otherwise, I would have just said super title, subtitle, whatever, and that would have been the end of it. But now to know like how you hear that, you're not alone, baby. There are like other people who are hearing it that way. So how do I express it in a way that's going to connect with those people and make sense? Captions.
Well, one thing I will add to that is I have never been to an opera-like event, theater or opera either, in which I regretted going. Like, what was I going to do instead?
I love that.
You know, that stuff is all still at home.
Yes.
Netflix is still there.
My phone still exists.
The phone still exists. There's so few things that are like, it's only happening tonight. Yeah. And you're going to remember it for the rest of your life, essentially.
I love that.
So I want to use that as a segue too. You know, in terms of when people are in our community, when people want to engage with this stuff, you know, well, we'll save the big how do they find you, but we were talking a little bit beforehand about like opera being like a great gift and how to kind of tie this to its business time, like the types of sponsors and the types of events you guys do. Can you tell us a little bit about like how the small business community gets involved with you guys as an entity?
Yes. My guy, I would love to.
Okay,
I would love to.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of things. One is that we do this thing called pop-up opera, which started during the pandemic when our singers were essentially going to be out of work, when all of us, we had to shut doors. We wanted to still be able to employ our singers. And so we would do pop-ups where we would show up at hospitals, or we would show up where first responders were going to be, or at shift change, and just perform for 15 minutes. We would bring a keyboard, and it was just to like bring a little bit of joy into people's lives and to keep our artists paid. Right. That has evolved into this program now where we go across the whole state. Okay. We have this absolutely dope blue van that says, you know, pop-up opera all over it. It has pictures of our artists. It tows a mobile opera stage. Oh, wow. We have bubble machines and a t-shirt cannon. It like really creates this festival vibe around opera.
Yeah, that's
And again,
awesome.
That's like all about creating this space where I want people to be like, oh, I'm having fun, and someone is singing to me in French right now, and I feel comfortable, and I understand what they're saying. Yeah. You know? So we are doing an event, for example, Dogfish Head Brewery down in Milton. They book us to do this event. This is going to be our second time going back.
Oh, what's the date on that?
That's going to be September 23rd.
September 23rd.
We're going to be at Dogfish Head Brewery in Milton. We set up a table to tie-dye big voice energy shirts. That's kind of like the slogan of Opera Delaware is opera singers have big voice energy. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
And then our artists put together a program, IMC. We have some fun. We have some laughs. We give away some prizes. Doing things like that, that's something that small businesses and corporations can sponsor anywhere in the state. Right. If you want to do an event like that at your business, for your employees, for your supporters, for your customers, or if you want to gift that in the community. So we've had companies like CSE purchase a pop-up opera for the students at the YMCA. Oh, okay. For the students at a summer program, right?
And it'll be like brought to you by...
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and so then we bring all the bells and whistles in the whole program, and being able to do that, I think it gives like two options for how you can, as a business owner, engage with this. You can either like present it and we can be a part of a party that you're throwing, or you can give the gift and pass on this music to the next generation, which is also incredible.
So just to kind of recap there, they either have their event and they hire you guys to come and perform and make the event unforgettable.
That's right.
Or they can cut you guys a check to go somewhere and run the event, and then it's like brought to you by.
Exactly right.
So if let's say they have like an electrical company or something, right, and they want to get their word out there, they want to get their name out, they might sponsor Opera Delaware to do a big event, and then it's like, you know, Jim's Electric, brought to you by Jim's Electric, or something like that.
And then it's on the programs, it's on the website, it's on our social media, right? Like the sponsorship goes everywhere.
I love that. Yeah. And of course, the third way is they just, if they have clients they like, they buy them some tickets to the opera.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm going to tell you this new thing that we have, this opening night micro gala. Again, I need you to understand Delaware. We got something really special going on here because this stuff does not exist anywhere else. The opening night micro gala, came from this idea that opera companies used to operate out of the back of casinos.
Right.
Okay. So like there would be a casino in the front, everybody's like playing games and drinking, and then they'd go and watch a performance. Wild. That's how it used to be like in Italy back in the day.
Yeah.
So we decided to have this party before the opera starts, 2 hours. We have professionally run games of blackjack, poker, roulette. You come and play games, win prizes, drink some champagne. We have a beautiful spread of Italian food.
Yeah, wear the suspenders and the bowler.
Put it on.
I love it.
We have a professional photographer. I'm going to tell you why. We call them our paparazzi.
Okay.
I want you to spell that in your mind because opera, I slap it right in the middle there. Papa, okay?
Opera.
You with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
And we have like a red carpet runway because I think one of my favorite things about going to the opera, you know, people used to always ask me like, "What? I don't know what I'm supposed to wear. I don't have anything fancy enough."
Right.
Right. And one of my favorite things about going to the opera is that I don't wear my fanciest or most expensive outfit. I dress to be seen. I dress to make a memory. I dress because I want us to take a bunch of pictures tonight and I want to remember that we were here. So I wear my favorite thing. And so we hire professional photographers to capture that for you.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So that's an amazing thing that that some businesses sponsor. They'll get, you know, 10 tickets, a program ad, and they'll bring their folks to the opening night micro gala and then the opera. And we have packages for sponsorship of that go all the way up to $7,500. But it's exciting to find even like a $500, $1,000 way that we can involve these businesses so that you can be bringing your people to the arts.
Yeah. And this is where I'm gonna guilt small businesses
for
a minute, just for one little minute. But one of the things I see all the time, because I do a lot of marketing for small businesses, is they need eyeballs. They need people to know they exist. They need people to see them.
Yeah.
And here you are with a historic, a cultural, lavish experience.
Absolutely.
That just draws the eye, that draws the attention. So there are a lot of businesses out there that might be sitting there thinking, hey, should I buy a billboard? Should I buy a bunch of digital marketing? Or should I invest in my local opera scene, my local community, my local cultural experience?
Yes.
So I love that you kind of bring these two together.
I love that. And it's so in line with what I feel about marketing in general for opera, because you know, when I first started with this, I said, I'm not going to spend money on a billboard for the opera, because if I put up the words La Bohème, it doesn't mean anything to 90% of people. But if I instead spend that money, instead of spending it on a billboard, if I spend it on doing these community performances and going to schools and going to DSU, and if I spend it on the community will pay me back for it. You know, the community will show up for it. It's about the introduction.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I already have a handful of events that I want to ask you about after we're done recording here. But just, you know, just because bringing a performer like that, even if it's 3 to 5 minutes of the vocals, they blow you away. You get chills, and you're kind of standing there, and it's like you suddenly remember, right, that you're in a world that is way cooler than it was a minute ago.
Yes.
You know?
I feel it, honestly, this is why I'm obsessed with art in general, because I feel like it reminds us that we're alive. And this is real. Like, that's what I love about going to see a full opera production, because you have everyone on stage. You have the whole chorus, all these principal artists, the orchestra, everyone working backstage. You essentially have like 200 people working to make art for you live just in this one moment that it's going to exist in. Like, that's what makes me feel like electric. You know? Absolutely.
Some of my best memories of the times when I would go to more theater and more opera and things like that. I'm a very vivid dreamer.
Yeah, I love that. Cool.
And so you go to an opera, and the next week of dreams are about as epic
you're
as it
Pavarotti.
You're
doing it.
Pavarotti. You know, your second grade science teacher is singing to you about, you know, the DNA helix structure or something. Well, not second grade, but you get the point.
The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. You know.
and that's the thing is bringing something epic. And it's just right there. It's just it's so close. You're a part of it. Wow, that's really, really cool. And just to go back to the small business stuff for another moment, like a lot of this series was kind of started because I did music for a while, and then I did business development for a while, and I saw that business always needs eyeballs. Artists and musicians are always getting eyeballs.
Yep.
businesses often have resources and don't know how to get the most impact from the community.
Yeah.
And artists and musicians are often lacking resources.
Yes.
And so to try and bridge some of those, to try and make some of those pairings, bring sponsors to events like yours, is really a big part of this series. So, I mean, this has been so much fun talking so far. Now let's do the proper. I want to make sure for those who are interested in doing a Delaware or an Opera Delaware event, or attracting folks to the event, giving tickets, all that can find you. What is the best way for people to kind of find you guys, buy their tickets, maybe the next major event you have coming up, a reminder, something like that?
I love that. So our website is operade.org. Okay, operade.org. Check it out.
I gotta remember to smile. In so many of these videos, I'll point up to the website and I'll be straight-faced because I'll be like, yeah. But then later when I try and go get a screen grab, I look
You look like a grump?
Yeah, I'm having a bad time. So operade.org.
We're also on Instagram, on Facebook.
Bink, bink, bink.
Yes, click them all. Follow me personally, Kerriann OMG, because I'm always out here hyping up the arts and culture scene in Delaware, from Delaware Shakespeare Company, the theater company, the art scene that we have here. Because here's what I think. I moved here 2 years ago, as I mentioned, and I kept hearing the same thing over and over again. People would say, oh, it's so great to live here. The community, the people, the network. Absolutely. The taxes. Mwah, love it, right?
Yeah, right.
Our beaches. And then they would say, and if you want arts and culture, you're just like 2 hours away from DC. You can get to Broadway in this amount. Okay, so not to be dramatic. But we're like fully outsourcing our arts and culture to larger cities. And so I don't know how, as a business owner, you expect to maintain your workforce and get them to live in this community when they have to leave to experience arts and culture or restaurants or experiences that are of value to them. And it's amazing to me because we have such a rich arts and culture here. We have so many performances, so many creatives living here, and if the business community hypes that up, I'm telling you, it's gonna enhance the workforce experience. It's gonna make people want to live and work in Delaware. Yeah.
No, I feel it. I already want to live and work in Delaware, and I do.
And I'm doing it every day. I'm doing it.
No, you truly are an ambassador for the cultural scene. Like I love it when I'm talking to someone and all I want to do is like wrap up so I can go check out the opera, and that really is like, I definitely want to get more involved, and you have given us all the tools to find you, get more involved.
And I'll tell you two free opportunities coming up. So one upstate in Wilmington. On August 29th, we're featuring this Brazilian folk opera duo. Okay, they do a completely new genre of music, Brazilian folk and opera together, and it is a dance party. This is a free event. We got a cash bar. You register at operade.org, and you can come to this dance party. And then at the end of September, we'll be back at Dogfish Head. So we're hitting northern Delaware, we're hitting southern Delaware, when we're going to be in Milton on the 23rd of September.
Yeah, got you. Beautiful. Way to keep the dates. I felt bad putting you on the spot for a minute, but you have one on your head.
I'm trying,
anyway.
man.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining the series. This has been wonderful.
Thank you.
Want to thank Kerriann Otaño one more time from Opera Delaware for joining us. That does it for week 48 of It's Business Time. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and we will see you next time. It's Business.